Hello, YouTube land. This is Brenton Son coming to you from Lexington, Kentucky, the Bluegrass State. Now, we've been having several very interesting Bigfoot stories here lately, and the stories keep coming and they keep getting better and better, it seems like. Um, Today, this story I like a whole lot because, well, it's a Class A sighting for one. But also, I used to live in Indiana and fairly north in Indiana where I was born. This guy's a little further north than that, this has happened. But in Indiana is not a state a whole lot of people would think is squatchy, but every state in this nation is squatchy if they've got woods. I really believe that, and it's coming out more and more how prevalent and how widespread this Bigfoot and even Dogman and stuff like that. How these creatures live basically everywhere where there's woods and there's any kind of food at all. They find a way to survive, and it seems to be more and more true the more stories that we collect. Today we have a guy who's going to share his encounter, a Class A sighting, and he's going to go by D from Indiana, and I will let him hone in on as far as he wants to go with the area where he lives. But I really hope you all enjoy this, I know you will. So anyway, let's go to our guest. Hello, D. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing wonderful, man. I do really good when I get emails from people that have stories like yours. That's for sure. Makes me very
Yeah.
happy. But I think what we need to start with is kind of give the area and kind of what that's like. The flora and fauna and tell us as close as you want to on where this happened at.
All right. The Northwest is Northwest Indiana. Um, the county would be LaPorte County. That's about as far as I'll go. Um, it's very heavily wooded where I was. There's miles and miles of woodland and marshes and swampland. Yeah, it's about 12 to 15 miles from Michigan.
Right. And typically, um, it doesn't really seem like there's a whole lot of stories that come out of that area. But do you think that there's a lot of people that actually have seen these creatures up there and just don't tell about it?
I truly believe that there are other people that have seen these creatures. Maybe they're afraid of ridicule, or maybe they just want to forget it ever happened. Um, I'm just hoping other people come forward. It's something you really can't move on with, but you have to live with. And if they're afraid of ridicule, or just please come forward. I mean, it's nothing to be ashamed about.
Right. Yeah. When we have so many TV shows these days and so many radio shows and things like that that share these kind of encounters, do you think that that kind of helps people to feel a little safer in telling?
I believe it does. I mean, when they see the show and they see all the eyewitnesses and people that you wouldn't think, campers or hikers or bicyclists, they have these encounters and they don't know what to make of it, and they don't know what to say to people. I mean,
Right.
it's a scary, scary thing.
Right. Yeah, I can tell that you were very traumatized by this, and it's not easy to talk about when you have a Class A type sighting that is so scary. It's a very traumatic thing. Do you feel like you had PTSD, like post-traumatic stress disorder and stuff from this?
I quite possibly could. I still have nightmares to this day, and this happened in 1987, and here it is, 2016, and I still have nightmares, and I will not go into the woods, even with a group of people. I refuse to go into the woods ever again.
Wow, that's awful, and I hate to hear that for you. Yes, the nightmares is a sign of PTSD. So, and they sometimes are ongoing. But the good news is when you talk about it, it starts desensitizing you to it. If you were to go get some counseling for it, the first thing they would tell you to do is start sharing with, people that you can share with. It's not safe, to share with just anyone. So you're doing the right thing today, Dee. And I really appreciate you coming forward and giving me the opportunity to speak with you and share your story.
Well, thank you for letting me.
You are very welcome, man. Well, I guess what we should do from this point is go ahead and just tell us what happened and kind of give us as much detail as you can as you tell it, because it is an amazing story, that's for sure.
Well, it was October of 1987, and I had made arrangements to go camping next to this area. It's a forested area, and a friend of mine and I made plans to go to the shooting range the next morning. And so I walked out there. I got to the property, and I hiked about 2 miles, a mile and a half to 2 miles into the area that I was camping at, and there was farmhouses, and I mean that was it. And they were quite a distance off the road, and so was I. And so I got to my campsite, and I started setting up camp. I set up a makeshift tent, and I started a fire. And just as I was getting the fire going, I heard like twigs breaking behind me in the tree line, like something was walking or somebody was walking. So I looked up and I said, "Hey," because if it's a person, I definitely want to know if somebody's going to sneak up on me. And I didn't hear anything. And then, then again, it happened again. Just like twigs breaking, small sticks. And then out of the corner of my eye, I see this like peripheral vision. I see this thing flying through the air, and it lands several feet from me, but it's a 40-pound log, approximately 40 to 60 pounds. All right, this time I yelled, "Hey, knock it off." And then here comes another one. And then the third one hit. It was close. I mean, we're talking no more than 10 feet from me. And I had my rifle with me. I picked up my rifle. I pointed it at the wood line. I said, "I have a gun. Knock it off." And I hear that you could see this in the bushes in the tree line. You could just faintly see them from the firelight, and they started shaking. And then whatever I saw, a very large silhouette, of a being stand up, but it was very, very large. And then the fear came over me. I'm like, okay, is this somebody playing a joke on me, or is this real? And then it moved. It kind of moved out of the way, like it was going to come across to the side. There's a small clearing, and he could cut through that clearing and right there and block my trail, the trail leading back down to the road. So I took off running. I did not know what this was, and I get to this actual trail from my campsite, and I'm running down this trail, and I'm hearing to my left there's railroad tracks, and you can hear the rocks moving on the railroad tracks, like steps, but very large steps. It's like a 1 second interval between steps, or a 2 second interval. where a person runs fast, you're gonna definitely know it's that. So I get to the mid trail, heading toward the road, and the trail starts to dip down, and it's angled probably 25 degrees, and then it slowly slopes back up. Well, the trail is probably in the middle of that slope is 3 feet, at least approximately 3 feet deep. Now, I'm 5'8". I stopped at the top of that trail before it started to dip. Whatever this was standing in the middle of the trail, blocking me, and it was eye level. So we're talking anywhere between 8.5 to 9 feet tall. And I froze. It's like I couldn't move. So I slowly raised up my rifle and pointed it at it. Or him, or it. And it let out this god-awful scream. It's something that I'm sure if anybody's ever heard it, you can never get it out of your mind. It started out really low, and it went really, really high-pitched. And my body wanted to move. My mindset moved. My body froze. I couldn't even squeeze the trigger. And I saw it breathing, and in the cold, the moon came out from the clouds, and it wasn't quite a full moon, but it was bright enough. I saw its eyes, and I saw the steam coming out of its mouth for the breath, and its eyes were yellowish gold. That I can never get out of my mind. And it just looked at me, and I finally got up enough courage to run, and I cut across a cornfield that was, it was muddy because there was, no corn stalks. And I ran so fast that I actually ran out of my shoes. And I'm heading toward a porch light where it's a farmhouse. And just as I get about halfway across the field, I fire off a shot, hoping somebody would hear it, or if this thing was behind me, because I had no idea this thing was even if it was behind me or not. I fired off a shot, and I get to the farmhouse, and I knock on the door, and the guy comes out, and he's like, "What's going on?" And I told him, well, he gets on the phone with some other guys, and then all of a sudden there's 3 or 4 people, men, that are out looking. I'm just like, he must have believed me or something, or he thought, somebody was trying to harm me. And they went out, and they came back, and they just said they didn't see anything, but they went to my campsite, and it was tore up. It was like something had completely tore the tent up, just scattered things around. He said it was a mess. And after that, I got a ride home.
So you never went back to get your camping gear at all?
No, the only thing I had with me was my rifle, and
Wow.
I found one shoe. And we went out later on with a flashlight. It was still dark, and we went out with a flashlight, and I found one shoe. So I put that on, but when you're so scared, you don't realize how cold it is until after. My feet were so cold, and I didn't even realize it because I was running in bare feet.
Right. Yeah.
And
so back at the campsite. Let's go back to the campsite for a second.
Okay.
Now, when you were built, did you get your fire built?
Yes, I did. I had it going.
Okay. And basically, at this point, you had something you could hear breaking and snapping twigs. Is that right?
Right. Yes.
And then
you get this, when you turn around, you look at the tree line, you get this overwhelming feeling of dread.
Yeah. So you did get
like
that.
The hair on the back of your neck stands up. And
this is,
it's not, I wouldn't call it fear. I would call it more of dread. Like,
so you got this dread feeling.
That's going to happen.
You got this dread feeling before it ever threw anything, or showed its
Yeah, before it started throwing it, I heard the twig snap, and it's like brush was moving. I can't really describe it because I haven't been out in the woods in years.
Right.
But you can hear twigs snap, like somebody was walking and snapping twigs.
Right.
And the bush moved. It like really moved. I don't, at the time this was happening, I wasn't sure it was somebody playing a prank on me or if it was, a deer. It could have easily, because October is hunting season. It could have been a deer.
Right.
But it wasn't a deer.
No, it wasn't deer. So
it
you
wasn't a deer.
So you really had a sense of dread before you even got a glimpse of the silhouette or anything. Is that right?
Yeah, it was just an overwhelming. It really is. You can describe it as an overwhelming chill.
Wow.
Like something bad is going to happen.
That's so interesting how they can project fear before you ever even notice it. So when it was throwing these logs, how big were the logs? Like how big around? How long?
Well, they were cut out of a tree. I'd say the weight was anywhere with approximately 40 to 60 pounds apiece, and it appeared that when it came through the air, you see it out of the peripheral vision, about 15 feet high, and it hit with a very large thump.
Wow.
And so the third one got really close.
Okay, and
I would say within 10 feet.
And these were cut out of a tree. They were not snapped.
Yeah, they were like somebody had taken a chainsaw and cut these for. That's how I gathered some of my firewood.
Right. Okay, so he was picking up existing pieces of wood and
right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, and throwing big chunk. He was throwing big pieces of wood at you then, wasn't he?
Very large.
Wow.
And when they hit it, you could actually feel an impact. You can feel the impact when they hit.
Right. And one thing I do know about Bigfoot, the Sasquatch phenomenon, is they can be so stealthy and sneak up in thick bush. They can sneak up next to you 3-4 feet from you and you not hear them. So when they're making noise, they already know you're there. So whenever you were having these logs and the things thrown at you and the brush snapping and all that kind of stuff, do you feel like that it was trying to intimidate you?
I feel like whatever it was trying to get me out of there. Did not want me there for some reason.
Right.
You go through it in your mind afterwards, and your mind is trying to rationalize this, and there's really no rational explanation for it. It was what it was. When I was growing up, I didn't believe in Bigfoot. I didn't believe in anything like that. And, I always thought it was a man or a person in a costume who was just playing mind tricks on people and wearing, homemade big feet running through the mud or running through the snow. That's what I thought it was.
Right.
When that's growing up. But when you actually see something and it's in real life standing right in front of you,
yeah,
and you can hear it, and
yeah,
you can see it, and you can basically physically touch it if you wanted to.
Yeah, how close was this thing to you when it was standing there beside the campsite?
Beside the campsite?
Yeah, while you were getting the logs thrown.
Oh, the tree line was probably 45 feet away.
Okay, and then you seen his silhouette after he threw things at you. Okay, Len, let's go.
I saw the silhouette through the campfire light.
Yeah, right. Okay.
It glared off, and you can see, but you couldn't really see that. You could see the dark tree line through the night sky, but
right.
You couldn't make out anything other than But when that firelight was really roaring, you can see
Did
a
it?
good distance.
Did you get a sense of how big it was when you looked at it from the campfire there?
The silhouette was quite large.
Yes. Okay. Now let's
It was.
move from here up to now you pick your gun up and stuff because you're getting scared at this point and you're saying, "Hey,
Right.
cut it out." And
I said I had a gun. I said I have a gun. Knock it off.
okay.
You know, if it was a man or a person, oh, I better stop. I don't want to get shot.
Okay. Now
So
you
whatever this was had no fear.
right. So when you take off down this trail, correct?
Right.
Okay. And this thing runs somehow he runs some other way and ends up in the trail, or do you think that was a separate Sasquatch?
I'm not sure this day. If it did, it paralleled me when I was running because the railroad tracks would be to my left, and there was a 9-foot fence separating the railroad tracks from me.
Okay.
And
So this
the
thing
only
would have
way,
had to run down railroad tracks, jump a 9-foot fence, and then get into the trail ahead of you.
right, and cut me off at the right position.
Right.
I mean, I would have had to. I mean, when you start to run down a trail and it dips and you're running, it's hard to stop.
Right. Yeah.
And this thing positioned itself in the dip, the lowest part of the dip in the trail. It positioned itself there.
Okay.
And if I was just looking at the trail or trying to see where I was running, I would never have. I would have ran right into it.
Right. So how close were you to it when it had when it there was this creature in the middle of the trail? We won't say that it's the same one yet. We're going to say that
Right.
a creature was in the trail. How close were you to it when you stop?
Between 15 and 20 feet.
Okay, so that's pretty close up and personal. And okay, now we're going to get to the when the moonlight comes out, you're able to see it a little better, and you see the eyes. Now, you at this point you could see the silhouette and how tall this thing was at this point, correct?
And wide.
And
no,
wide.
It was wide. It was big. It was massive.
How wide do you say that this thing was?
I'd say 60-inch chest, maybe.
Wow.
If not bigger than that. I mean, this thing took up the trail.
Yeah.
It just completely took it all up.
So him being down in this dip, he's eye level with you. You know this dip is about 3 feet lower than where you're standing, and he's level.
That's correct.
So he's around 8.5, 9 feet tall, yellow eyes glaring at you. Did you notice maybe the eyes being the head on the thing being so big? Did the eyes ever strike you as funny being so far apart? Compared to
I concentrated on the eyes. I couldn't really judge the distance between them.
Right.
The head was massive.
Right.
And it was lower set on the shoulders. You could see where the shoulders started and the head was. It's like this thing really didn't even have a neck.
Right. That's why.
Head and shoulders.
Yeah, they call them no necks in some parts of the country. They call them no heads too. And I was wondering why, because the head looks like the neck and it looks like it has no head. So they call them no heads too. But the eyes were scary to you, obviously.
The eyes were, yellow gold. I have never seen that color of eyes in any animal, except for maybe a cat.
Yeah, well, they don't typically have yellow. Yeah,
but they don't get that yellow.
Yeah, that's a very unique color for an animal. That's for sure. Dogman sometimes has that color, but I had one story a couple weeks ago where someone reported that color in a Bigfoot, and that was very strange. Now, do you think that the eyes were more bright than normal for an animal?
Well, when that moonlight hit them, they just like glared, like
Okay.
you could. It's like that's the thing you concentrated on the most.
Right.
Is when that moonlight hit you, you saw those yellow gold eyes.
So you think it was the moonlight that was illuminating them?
Yeah, it was illuminating. It had
Okay.
to. I mean, if the moon didn't come out, I don't believe I would have seen them. But I wouldn't have gotten to the point. I wouldn't be able to. I saw its breath, and that was really scary.
Yeah, I know. I was picturing.
Seen it.
Well, I was picturing the scene and having a dark area with a yellow-eyed, 9 foot tall, 3 foot wide creature, and then see that breath come out. That just looks like a scary movie.
It was moving. It wasn't swaying back and forth. It was like when you stand, it's normal movement where you barely move. It's a slight sway, but it wasn't a noticeable sway. And the chest, you could just see it breathing.
Yeah.
And you saw the steam come out of its mouth. And
right. So the color of fur, the color of hair that it had, could you tell?
The color of the hair?
Right.
No, I couldn't tell the color. It was dark.
Right. Okay.
It was very, very dark.
So it was probably black or dark brown or something then. Huh?
Yeah, possibly black or dark brown. Yes.
Okay.
And I don't think I want to see this thing in the daylight.
So when you end up taking off from this point, was he in the trail in front of you?
Yes, he still was. When I started to run to my right through the field, I didn't look back. I just started to run. So if this thing wanted to overtake me, it could have easily. Because I had to run through the field that was partially muddy.
Right.
And, when you lose your shoes and you don't even realize it because the mud's sucking your shoes right off your feet.
You were basically, did you think you were going to die?
Yes. Okay. I thought I was dead.
And you held on to your gun the whole time. And
yeah, I fired a shot off in midfield. It was just in case it was behind me. Right. I didn't get that sense that it was running after me. Like, I couldn't hear it running. And this thing was so massive, you probably could have heard it. But midway through the field, I fired off one shot and into the air, and hopefully, if it was behind me, that would have deterred it from chasing me any further. And it couldn't, it might quite possibly have been that I was getting closer to a farmhouse.
Right.
And, maybe the people heard the shot.
So when you took off, did you really know where you were going?
I was heading toward the closest light I could see, the porch light, which was way off in the distance.
Okay, but you didn't really know the area when you first took off. When you first took off, did you already notice that light over there, or did you just take off randomly?
I took off running to the right randomly through the field. Because there's no way I could have gotten past it. If I would have tried to run straight or even tried to outflank it, it could have gotten me.
Okay. So basically you didn't.
I firmly believe it would have.
You didn't know there was a house over there when you first took off, is what I'm saying.
No, until I looked up and there's a light. Thank God,
So okay, so now you're running. You're heading out across this field. You don't know, you don't really know for sure if it's following, but you run for a little bit and just for safety's measures, you shoot a shot off to maybe feel like you're increasing your chances of making it. Is that kind of the feel? Okay.
Maybe the shot would scare it, or if it didn't scare, because I believe this thing had no fear of a weapon, and it sure didn't have any fear of man.
Right. When you pointed your weapon at it, when it growled, right?
It screamed. It didn't growl. It screamed.
It growled, screamed, yeah,
And God
howled.
Almighty. I mean, it was the most blood curdling scream you'd ever hear in your
So,
life.
so do you feel like it made it angry, or when you
I
pointed?
think I torqued it off a little bit.
Okay, yeah, pointing the gun at it makes them mad. Is what it seems like in other cases. Okay, now when you get to this house, did you have to like beat on the door to get these people to notice, or did they hear the gunshot?
When I got up to the porch, it was like a concrete porch. I got up to the second step, and I leaned over and I knocked three or four times, and the guy came out. He's like, "Can I help you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, there's somebody chasing me or something chasing me. I don't know." And he says, "Hold on." And he goes in, and I guess he makes a phone call or something. And it wasn't 5 minutes later. There was two vehicles pull up, and these guys get out, and I didn't see them armed at all. And I tell them what's going on. I tell them what happened. You know, I'm thinking, maybe they'll help me. Maybe they'll call the Department of Natural Resources, or maybe they'll call the sheriff, you know, or something. No, they didn't. They went out and they looked.
Right. So I mean, that's so bizarre. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So when you knock on this, wait, hold on. When you knocked on this door, and he answers it, were you like in a panic? I mean, because you're a dude, barefoot dude, and it's cold outside, and you're holding a gun, and you're knocking on someone's door. Did you try to calm down so that you didn't?
Oh no, I was in a panic. I was in a panic.
Okay.
My heart was pounding. He looked at me, and I'm trying to explain what happened to him, and I don't even know what words came out of my mouth.
Right.
I could have been babbling.
So he seemed sympathetic, or did he seem like he was confused or sympathetic, or what? How did he come off?
He came off quite sympathetic.
Okay.
And I know he went in and he made a phone call because I saw him, and I'm thinking maybe he's calling the sheriff or the police, you know, so they come out, you know, because I really wanted them out too.
Right. So, I mean, it really comes off as if he knew something.
He knew. I can't say that he knew what was going on. I can't say that he knew there was something out there because I can't speak for him.
But I mean, you come to his door with a gun, barefoot, in the cold, in a really big panic. He makes a phone call, and in 5 minutes has a posse pulled together and goes hunting. That dude, I mean, that sounds like they had some issues going on in that area. To me, I mean, it's possible that he would just, you know, okay, you know, this guy's in a panic, something must be going on. But that seems more like that they know something had been happening in that area, like they've been harassed or something.
Well, if people have seen anything out in that area, I wish that they would come forward.
Right.
Don't be scared. Don't be ashamed. It's nothing to be ashamed of. I know. I mean, if you were scared when it happened,
right,
that's the worst part's over.
Yeah. So when these guys come back from going and looking, did you wait at the house, their house?
Pardon?
Did you wait at his house while they went and looked?
I waited on the front porch for them to come back. The door was opened, and I think his wife and some kids were in there. They didn't come out, but you know, they were waiting. So if this thing would have approached the house, I could have ran in the front door and slammed it.
And you still had your gun, so this guy leaves you on his front porch with his family, and you're barefoot in a panic with a rifle.
Yeah, and that I know sounds strange nowadays, but
yeah,
you know.
No, I mean, you know
that kind of raises a flag. You know, okay, why would he do that? But then again, he could have known what was going on too.
Yeah. I mean, up in Indiana, out in the country and stuff like that, I know the type of people there. They're helpful and what have you, and they're trusting and what have you. So, I mean, it's completely feasible. I just felt like he knew something and he wanted to go and look real quick, and he had guys that were ready to do that. Just because there'd been something happening before. So when he comes back, uh, how long was he gone? First of all, and then when he comes back, what kind of demeanor, and kind of how did he break it to you?
Well, it was less than an hour. Of course, it felt like eternity. And then when they pulled up in one, because they all went in one car to drive down to that where the trail started, and when he came back, he said, "Yeah, we found your campsite. It's all tore up." And I'm like, "Tore up? Okay." And then the thing that crossed my mind the most is I could have been there.
Right.
You know, this thing could have easily killed me, and nobody would have known about it till the next day.
I mean, but how did these guys come off? Like, what did they think? Did they give you any kind of indication of like, yeah, we didn't see anything, but your campsite's tore up? I mean, how did he come up?
I did not get the impression that they were just basic normal conversation. They didn't sound like they were alert, or they didn't sound like they, were, oh my God, or this happened here. It was calm.
Yeah, that's another thing.
Tore up, but we didn't see anything else.
Yeah, I mean, they come back and your campsite's tore up, torn to pieces and what have you, and they seem like they're still fairly calm. I mean, it just kind of all adds up as if they have had some reports or maybe had some encounters, and when you come up there in a panic like that, he was able to call some guys that they'd been talking about this already, and bam, they were all come together quickly. I mean, these guys had to live fairly close to be pulling something together in 5 minutes and be leaving with a posse, and your campsite's tore up, man. So you ended up going back and getting your stuff later, correct?
No, I had my rifle. I left my backpack with some little bit of food. I left it.
You did go back and get it?
Pardon?
I mean, you went back another day and got it, though, right?
I do not believe I did.
Okay.
I would not. I refused to go back.
Yeah. Okay.
I refused to go into the woods again. To this day, I will not go even near a wooded area.
Yeah. Well, I don't blame you.
I can't bring myself to do it.
Yeah. I mean,
I get nervous driving down a wooded a road with woods on both sides. Where I live, it's a rural area, and there's a lot of country roads, and I refuse. I will take the freeway before I will take a shortcut.
Right.
Down a wooded road, or down a road where there's woods on both sides. I can't do it.
Wow. Yeah.
I refuse to.
That's a very scary thing
to
happen to you.
In the woods with people. I mean, even if there was a group of people, I wouldn't go in the woods with them.
Right. So you knowing this is out there, you just refuse to go in the woods because you know what's out there, right? That's.
I know whatever it was not human.
Yeah.
No human could do that, and to this day, I swear, it was not human.
Right. Right, man. Okay. Do you think maybe that thing was able to run down those railroad tracks and jump that fence, or do you feel like maybe there was two?
There quite possibly could have been two, because the way it was running parallel to me,
right.
And it didn't sound. It was like the sound of the rocks were behind me.
Okay.
So, I mean, I was like, good, it's gone, and, it wasn't gone.
Okay. Yeah, see that kind of makes sense. Yeah, a lot of times they'll whistle and another one, you'll hear another one in a different direction. So it's very, very possible that that there were two, and one cut you off, and they were going to herd you out of the area. They wanted you to go the other way, and they wanted to funnel you
Very
out one
successful.
direction.
I don't know what, you know, I didn't pose a threat to me. I didn't pose a threat to them. I mean,
Right.
I wasn't there to hunt deer. I wasn't there to take from them their food source. I was just there camping.
But was this an area that was common for people to camp this time of year
No,
anymore?
no, it wasn't. No.
Okay. Well, you were
The
in there.
campsite was further down the road, several miles down the road. There was a campsite several miles down the road, but nobody ever camped there.
Right. Well, you were probably
That
in
was
their. You were probably in the area where they were living at the time, and they might have had some young ones. What they'll do if they have little ones, they will try to herd you a certain direction, and then it seems to me that the other one cuts you off so that you would have to go toward that farmhouse. They let you go. They don't have to let you
the
go.
scary part.
They
They
can
let me
easily
go.
catch you. Yeah, I mean, they can catch you. There's no problem. They can sneak up on you and kill you, and you'll never even see them coming. They are that stealthy. When you hear them, they want you to hear them. And if you see them, they want you to see them. So that was all designed to funnel you toward that farmhouse, in my opinion. And because I know how stealthy, I just had a few videos about how stealthy they are. And it's incredible. Well, now the nightmares and stuff that you're having, that's a whole nother ball game. When you have the nightmares, do you have nightmares of Bigfoot or just other scary type dreams?
Yeah, I have nightmares of a creature. I have nightmares of that night, and that night, yeah,
Well,
I'll never forget it.
I bet you won't. But you're gonna make progress, man. You coming forward and sharing. I promise you, this starts easing the trauma of it. But talking. So whenever you watch this show and what have you, you'll see people commenting. They're going to say nice things. They're going to be pulling for you, and there's going to be some trolls here and there, but they're very few compared to the amount of people that do watch. So ignore the negative stuff, and I will try to, delete that stuff as quick as I can. But take some comfort in the support that you're going to get, and I really think that you've been brave to share your story, and I really do believe that this is the path to starting to having this burden lift from you somewhat, and begin to kind of get more comfortable to maybe one day be able to go to a park where there's woods near and start with something like that.
Yeah.
That sound good. And you got my numbers. I will give you my home number too, and you can call me anytime. Is that cool?
That's cool.
And we'll stay in touch
The
and
funny
stuff.
thing about this whole thing was, when I told my brother this, my brother immediately acted. And I guess my brother was into the paranormal type stuff and crypto stuff. He's always been into that, but he never talked about it with me. And when I told him what happened, he got in contact with some Indiana BFRO.
Yeah, yeah.
And they supposedly investigated it, and I guess they went out there or somebody investigated it. But when I went on their website to read the encounter, it was edited. They left out parts that were crucial. They left out the part where I fired a shot in the air. They left out the part where I lost my shoes. They left out the part where, the guys went out they found my campsite. They left all that out.
Did they leave out the part where it tore your campsite up too?
Yeah, they left that out.
Did they leave out the throwing?
Why they did.
Did they leave out the throwing of the logs and stuff like that? Or?
Oh, no, that was there. That was there. But the firing a shot in the air, maybe they thought, well, you get people reckless with a gun or something, when you feel like your life is threatened,
right,
you're going to do anything you can to deter that.
yeah. Well, the BFRO is kind of known for. I mean, I know of a lot of cases where people report their story and they complain about the very same thing, is that they edited the story and there's only like part of the information and it kind of ruins the whole encounter somewhat. And I think maybe they're doing this partly because they don't want that scary side of Bigfoot to come out. They don't,
When they
because
say they're scary, they're not there. They're not lovable creatures in the woods that you can walk up and give a hug to. These creatures will tear you up
right,
if you aggravate them enough.
right,
They're
yeah,
not the lovable ones you can, who wants to go hug a grizzly bear? Oh,
right,
that would be like that, going to hug a grizzly bear. Sure.
yeah, and you know too that they're going out there trying to find them. That just almost goes to show you they're not really coming into contact with them much at all, and or they
No.
wouldn't be doing that, would they?
Well, I've seen their show, and I watched one episode where they were here in Indiana.
Yeah,
And, they basically said that Sasquatch cannot exist in northern Indiana, but only in central Indiana and the southern part of the state, where the national forests are in central Indiana and in southern Indiana near the Kentucky border.
right. I
And
mean
I'm like,
that's bold.
well, apparently, I really wish they had that type of encounter. I really do. Maybe they'd wake
Yeah,
up, and we're not going to go out in the woods and hoot and holler and scream and knock on trees, trying
yeah.
to get their attention, because if these are intelligent creatures,
Well,
they'll probably think
obviously,
that we're a bunch of morons.
that's what I was saying there. Obviously, they're not coming into contact with them like you are, or they wouldn't go in the woods looking for them because all the encounters I know that are close up and personal that were very, very traumatic and very scary. I mean, you're talking about a monster that is huge enough to kill you with one swipe. And so that tells me that they're only getting a little audio and a foot track here and there and that kind of stuff. And they had a sighting before or something like that, but they're not coming up close and personal with the things being aggressive toward them, or they wouldn't
And
go
how
in the
many
woods.
aggressive Sasquatches or Bigfoots or whatever or creatures have they had on their show? Aggressive ones, where
Zero.
these eyewitnesses were actually more or less attacked.
Yeah.
I've
Well,
not seen one.
yeah, they don't really report that stuff. I don't hear of it anyway. Now, on their show, they're not going to have any Sasquatch because that is just a show. And when they do go Bigfoot hunting, they don't even really go Bigfoot hunting like that. But I do know that they have had one case where there was a woman who was with the BFRO, and she got hit with infrasound. And she told them, I got hit with some kind of sound. It hit me with it. And she got really, really sick. They had to take her to the hospital. And she ended up getting a little bit better, they thought, and what have you. But it was shortly after that. I mean, not very many, like a week or something. I don't remember exactly, but it wasn't very long at all. And she just up and died. And I've heard of people having these infrasound attacks on them and feel like they have health problems to this day or something like that. But I mean, they took a woman to the hospital and she was telling them, and they kept trying to talk her out of, oh, that's not what happened, and stuff like that. So I feel
I've
like
heard a lot of things where they say, well, that couldn't happen. Bigfoot couldn't do that, or he couldn't have done that. They apparently try to tell some of these eyewitnesses what to say.
yeah, yeah. I mean, they
Well,
told you that
see
Sasquatch
what I
doesn't.
saw. Don't tell me anything. You have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, I maybe they're not all like
When you
that,
talk
but
about infrasound, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what that is. It could be like a sonic type of paralysis or whatever. But when that thing screamed, I froze. I could not even squeeze the trigger on my rifle, and it was
right.
pointed right at it.
Yeah, I know that. See, that's one thing too. I think that it does alter you physically. However, it's doing it. I don't know if it's just the sheer fear it drives in you, but they can immobilize. I interviewed this one lady from down in Louisiana, Diane, and she said, I can tell you this: when they growl or they make these sounds towards you, it'll freeze you in your tracks. The guy I just had on the show, his girlfriend, they heard the thing growled at him, and she froze, and he was able to snap out of it a little bit quicker, and he had to shove her up this little embankment to get out of there because this thing was 4 feet from them in the laying down in the bushes. They walked up on one sleeping. You know, I mean, it's crazy.
Whoa. What a way to get an encounter.
He's got the audio too, and and the video, but it's so dark in that spot you could see a little bit of light, from where he was trying shoving her, but you could hear the growl, and it was very very scary. It was so deep and so traumatic. When you see the video on my channel, the newest one, you can go to the link in the drop down menu and stuff. But anyway, the BFRO, um, they do some good stuff, I guess, and they brought some awareness to the topic and what have you. But they do stomp on people's stories, and they try to tell people that that's not possible, that's not what you've seen, and I think that's very demeaning to people. You had a Class A Bigfoot sighting with what I think is more than one creature, and the neighbors knew about this going on because they had had some stuff going on in their area, probably since it was out in the country, probably having animals taken, livestock, chickens, or whatever the case. I don't know. But they knew and they were ready to go look for this thing when they saw you. When a man comes running up on your porch with a gun, barefoot, and in a crazy state, you don't just take off with a bunch of guys and leave your family there with a dude with a gun sitting on your porch without knowing something. You know what I'm saying? They knew what happened to you, and that's my guess on it. That's you encountered two creatures, and there'd been stuff going on in that area. That's my take on it.
Years later, in fact, not too long ago, I was talking to a friend of mine, and she has a friend who lives in that general area, and she said, this was years after my encounter, she said that this friend of hers saw a creature similar to that cross a road, and this was in broad daylight.
Right.
I've been trying to get a hold of this person, talk to them, because there's something we have in common.
Right.
And I can't seem to get a hold of her. But she does live in that general area.
Right.
And I would say not more than 5 miles from where I had my encounter.
So
there's something out there in that so-called protected habitat.
Right.
And I think there's more than one person who knows about it.
Oh,
or more than a group of guys who knew about it.
Right.
I think there's a lot of people who know about it, and they're just not coming forward.
Right. Yeah, I agree. It's
nothing to be ashamed of. The worst part is over. You saw it. You had your encounter. That's the worst part.
All right.
It's what like you were telling, the nightmares will go away eventually, and we're talking 29 years, and they haven't gone away. And even when I was married, I would not sleep next to an open window or a window. I would sleep on the other side next to the wall.
Right. Yeah, you know what, man? I've had the very same PTSD stuff and had nightmares for 10 years and stuff like that. I'm telling you, you've made the right step by coming forward, sharing your story. Yeah, hopefully you find that girl and you can talk to her about her encounter. And by talking and opening up about this and confronting it instead of bottling it up, because the PTSD dwells in the secrecy. And so it's not secret no more, buddy. You really did a good job, man. I'm proud of you,
Well,
D.
thank you.
You're welcome, man. And I'll be talking to you more, man. Go try to find that girl still, and when you find her, if she wants
I'll
to.
see if she come on the show and tell you what she saw.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be wonderful, man. We'll have both of you on again or something, and we'll talk about the PTSD a little further, and we'll get updates on you too on how you're overcoming. And like I said, you'll have my phone number. I will send you my home phone too, so you can call anytime you want. The phone I'm calling you from now is for the show. You can't really call in on it.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
Well, maybe one day you come on up here and I'll point you in the general direction and maybe stand outside the wooded area so you can
yeah.
go in there if you
Oh,
want.
that's something I really want to start doing, and I believe I'm going to be able to start doing that some. This year will be the year that I'm able to
Place is huge.
to do it.
I'd say.
Yeah, we'll do it on site. We'll go to the location and get some footage in the daytime, and you kind of walk me through it or something like that. And
Yeah. Well, being with another person and then I'm taking a very large gun with me.
That's okay.
I'm serious. I'm serious. People may call that crazy, but
I mean, we'll be okay during the daytime to go out there and get a little footage, and we'll make it. We'll see how you feel about it when sometime later this year, and whenever I'm able to start doing this, and that will start happening this year. I just don't know if it's a month or two or what, but it's going to start happening where I'm going to start going to the locations and talking.
You're not that far from you're.
Yeah, I'm not that far from
Indiana,
you. I'm in Lexington, Kentucky.
I've been down to your neck of the woods quite a bit.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. We'll be talking, man, for sure. Okay. Well, anyway, I really thank you for coming on. I appreciate it, man. We'll talk. We'll be talking more. And all you out there in YouTube land, I thank you so much for watching the show today. I hope you liked that encounter, man. That is a good one. Very, very traumatic, and it goes to show you how traumatic these things can be for people. Be pulling for D, and and make the comments nice. And any trolls, I promise you, I will delete your comments if it's negative and things like that. Within reason. If you disagree or something, I don't censor people, but be nice, have manners, and
and I hope you see one too.
Yeah, well, I hope you see one too. But anyway, YouTube land, God bless you all. Thank you very much. Like, share, subscribe, and if you have had an encounter, you can email me at brentonson@gmail.com, and you can share your experience of Bigfoot, Dogman, or any cryptid or mysterious kind of story that would be interesting to listen to. God bless, and bye-bye.